Hello, hello. So I have a plan to split this into more of a stream-oriented, uh, a shoot, or more of a more scripted format. And the scripted format is going to be, I don't know, I guess more topical. And so this unscripted, more conversational, it's going to be a little more live streaming. And we'll get the camera involved, and I don't know if we'll do the same with the more scripted video essay style that people seem to enjoy. But for this specific episode of this channel, we're going to break something down. We're going to break down well, I'll read it off when we get to it. Let's get the camera going. We got a camera now. That's fun. Hey, there I am. And there's the lovely backdrop. And okay, so the topic today is going to be this article I found for my research. It was for psychology of disability, and it was exploring the role of theory of mind and moral judgment in the case of children with autism spectrum disorder. Now, I'm not going to shy away from topics like this because that's uh, not what this is going to be. This is definitely not going to be a pop psychology channel where we just go over narcissism or antisocial ad nauseum over and over and over again. So in this case, yeah, let's take a look at whether or not uh, children with autism perform the same on moral judgment as, what do they call them here? Traditionally developing children. So that's interesting. So in the abstract here, we can see that we're comparing moral judgment is the, I guess that would be the treatment, and theory of mind would be the, specifically in this case, the kind of baseline. So what is theory of mind? I already got that queued up too. So theory of mind off the Wikipedia, because I have not seen this discussed in any psychology book, and I had to look it up on Wiki so that I understood what the hell theory of mind was. See, going into this, the definition is it's, I guess, that aspect of who we are. I'm going to check this audio. There, got rid of some buzz. Okay, so theory of mind has to do with the fact that we can perceive ourselves being different than other individuals, and that we are individuals. And I know that that seems rather ridiculous that we can believe that human beings would not perceive this as well as other people. But going up here, let's see, Autism Spectrum Disorder, schizophrenia, ADHD, cocaine addiction, and certain forms of brain damage, including alcoholism, and aspects of philosophy might cause an individual to kind of dissociate that other people are individuals. And I have, like I said, I had to check a wiki on this because theory of mind is not really well explored in psychological text to begin with. And even when it is, it's more of a philosophical thing. Like we just assume offhand that that's valid. But testing theory of mind. Hey, let's go back to the other study now. And boop. Going way down through all the literature that describes what people have discovered about autism and traditional developing people in the past, as far as specifically the Piagean model of moral development. We can get down to see that there's three aspects in the results of the study. And it does, this data and this study suggests that the intent, I believe, is the theory of mind element, and that's a specific question they asked, is way more prevalent with this big old graph, and it's that black bar again, and the same here, that theory of mind, as far as the aspect of how individuals view empathy is correlated, but it's not necessarily the same thing. It just more has to do with the certain question that they ask children, going way up here into methods. Where's methods? So, there it is. So, I'm just going to leave this part of the study up here. You can read along. But the main part being that people on the spectrum are pretty internally focused and don't necessarily consider how the external life of other individuals interacts outside of their own experience. So that's the part of this study that they were asking. And if you don't necessarily consider that offhand, how does that affect moral judgment? Because apparently the literature on ASD and traditional developing people seems to suggest that this is very well demonstrated, that there is a difference in theory of mind with people with ASD. And so where does that go on to affect how those people make moral judgments, especially, in this case, in this study, it's definitely children. So are children going to make a objectively or subjectively immoral judgment because they don't perceive other people as having rich internal lives the same as their own? Or, if you scroll down to the results, it's pretty much going to be the same for both. So, understand social interactions in an effective way rather than simply teaching the immorality. Realistic. That was the conclusion. The children with ASD do actually have a robust sense of moral judgment, on par with traditionally developing people. They may be more rules-oriented just by having a more analytical view of, societal structures anyway. So traditionally developing children might actually, develop beyond Piaget and go into full Kohlberg and be like, well, the needs of what's important outweighs, the needs of what one would consider morally just to begin with. And at that point, you'd have to kind of argue whether or not it's trained. I certainly don't think it's inherent. Morality seems to develop on its own, but it does not seem to be rooted beyond aspects that we would consider getting certain needs met beyond the sense of fairness. So going into that without getting too word soupy, I think that we have a very interesting dynamic here where I think that people with ASD get a really weird rap. And by weird, I mean that specifically as far as if they have trouble with a specific social interaction, it's typically described as being some sort of fault of the condition of having ASD, where they just can't perceive what is socially acceptable, where in fact their theory of mind might be at somewhat of a disadvantage as far as like individuals predicting what others are experiencing, but at the same time the moral judgment isn't lacking. So I think that's really important as far as denoting a a legitimate difference between neurotypical and non-neurotypical people, and I think that's just part of the beauty of human diversity, and I'm really excited about not just this study. When was it? We'll go right back up to the top. This is a 2016 study, so this isn't just something that, I don't know, was old school and people came up with in the past. This is relevant literature, and it's about as relevant as you can get. Oh, yeah, okay, there's APA. Hey, yeah, if you ever use NCBI, that's how to uh, get into your bibliography or referenced material pretty easily on your papers. And yeah, and NCBI is pretty good with this. Always look for the ones with the full studies. If it's behind a paywall, it's not worth it. But anyway, that was some useful knowledge, and that's what I was working with tonight. And have a great one.